Well, welcome to Unit 4, the historical and cultural traditions of photography. And this is absolutely my favorite unit, and it's so much my favorite unit that I actually wrote the chapter in your textbook for this unit. I wrote the history chapter. And this will be one of your discussion prompts for this unit. By the way, it's a 3-week unit. It began today, October 26th, and it ends on November 15th. And you have more work in this unit than you're probably used to so far in this class, okay? You have a very complex analytical PowerPoint to produce, and you also have quite a few discussions, and there's a lot of reading, all right? So you want to get into this unit early and start thinking about who you're going to do your PowerPoint on. I'll get to that in just a minute. But my contention is, in order to be a good citizen, that you are a good significant other, a good employee, just a good person, all right, a fully actualized person, a person to whom or with whom that you're in control of your own life instead of other people being in control of you, that you really need to know where you've been in order to know where you are now, in order to know where you're going. And I get all the time students say, oh, I hate history, history is boring. That, nothing could be further from the truth that history is boring. Now, it may have been presented to you in a boring fashion, all right, that can happen. But there's nothing boring about history, because history makes who you are, that you're nothing at all without your history before you, and you can't possibly know where you're going without knowing your history, all right? And this is one of the problems in the country right now, is we've kind of gotten away from history, that we don't quite understand where we've been, okay, and how we got to where we are, so therefore we're kind of lost as to where we're going. And there's a lot of kind of revisionist stuff going on. Well, we really did this, or we really did that. That's not true. And so, for example, if we had really understood the history of Vietnam, we never would have gotten involved in the Vietnam War. If we'd really understood the history of Iraq, we never really would have gotten involved in that, okay? And if we'd understood the history of Afghanistan back in 2001, we wouldn't have the mess that we had now, okay? So it's our lack of appreciation of history that's caused a lot of our own problems. And so I'm saying that in order to be an artist, right, in order to be a musician, in order to be in business or anything, you need to know the history that came up to that point to where you are now, all right? So you can't be a good photographer or a good painter or a good guitar player unless you understand the history of all that's gone before you in terms of that same genre, in terms of that same field. So I'm hoping that you'll enjoy this history of photography, that you'll see how it fits with your own artistic abilities, all right, and that you'll dig into this PowerPoint project that culminates this 3-week unit. And I think you're going to find this interesting and enjoyable. So I don't need to continue this particular introduction for a very lengthy bit of time, because the table of contents for Unit 4 is actually quite complex and has a lot in it. The readings are quite thorough. There are quite a few readings this time. I have a textbook companion website that has a lot of other history information. And it's important that you follow this, because you need to pick a photographer to write your own history about in terms of a PowerPoint. There's a variety of lectures. There's the Invention of Photography lecture. There's Masters of Photography lecture, which I think you'll like. And then I have an optional lecture about nude photography. Nude photography is something I specialized in when I was much younger, and it's very, very historical. It's part of the history of photography, of course. It goes back to the early nude paintings of the Renaissance and the Impressionists. You have another blog assignment for this particular unit. You're going to talk about your history project, what you're going to do for your PowerPoint on your blog. And then you have 4 discussions: why study history, something about combat photography. Combat photography is a huge part of history, of the history of photography. And then another discussion about photography and reform. Many, many photographers have been reformists, help reform society, and you'll learn about that. It's very involved in history of photography. Then there's an optional discussion about nude photography. For your research assignment, I said you're going to create a PPT. Item 7, your table of contents, walks you through that very, very carefully, very thoroughly. So please be looking ahead. Don't just start lacklusterly in this unit. It's a very, very busy unit. And then as extra credit, this is new, okay, you don't know about this yet. Item 7.3 is called Ask a Librarian. And the librarian will help direct you towards some research about your photographer. She's going to help you find academic research about your photographer. I don't want your PowerPoint. It's a researched PowerPoint, an analytical researched PowerPoint presenting your photographer, presenting his or her works. And I don't want this to be a Wikipedia project or a Google project. You use Google some, because that's where you're going to get a lot of your images. All right, I talk about this later. And there's also usually some good material about photographers But to get really analytical information, to really help you find out what your photographer contributed to society or contributed to the art form, you're going to have to use some academic databases to find some more serious articles than what you normally just find on Google. So that's item 7.3, Ask the Librarian. It's actually a discussion forum, and you can ask the librarian. She'll be reading that discussion forum and answering your questions. So you can ask her about photographers, you can ask her to help you find research about them, where to look, that kind of thing. And she's very, very engaged with this class. We did this first this summer. It was very popular. Not all students seem to know about it. Not all students used it. But she certainly enjoyed it from her end. And those students who did use Ask the Librarian tended to produce better PowerPoints. So as usual, if you have questions during this unit, please be sure to email me. I will be looking at your blogs again shortly. And I will be stay in steady contact with you. So please stay in steady contact with me.